Good morning, party people. I am in the New York City area. This hallway look familiar? Anyway, yesterday I got with Mike, did some work on his V70R. Man, PCV stuff. That lower PCV oil trap box hose has got to be OEM Volvo. That thing was all spongy and stuff. It was like having somebody's bubble gum, leaking oil everywhere. Don't put nothing on that car but Volvo stuff. FCP sent them a Range one. We went to Volvo, got a Volvo one, and they do look different, so I don't know. I wouldn't trust them. That part's like less than $10. Get the Volvo one. Don't play around with that thing, man. It leaks too much oil. Oil leaking everywhere. Anyway, got his PCV done. Couple other things. Found some bad turbo hoses in that thing. He didn't have any boost when he bought that thing and drove it back from North Carolina to New York, but it had a lot of turbo pressure tubes issues. I recommend you get a rip kit when you start, paying $100, $200 for those hoses. Just get a rip kit, but rip kits are, man, for that car, $350. So he may just get those hoses replaced. Looks like about $80-90 on those two hoses, so that'll be okay. Anyway, today I got to find something to do, hopefully out of the rain. It seems like it's going to rain all day today, which I got to be in the garage or, got something quick outside to do or do something inside because it's, it's not raining hard, but it's just a steady drizzle. So maybe I'll be able to take care of something. Go pick up some parts from Kyle. Kyle frequents salvage yards and sells parts, I think, on eBay. So I'm going to talk to him, see if he can maybe help you guys in this region get large parts. Hoods, fenders, dashes, different stuff like that. He may be able to pick those things up for you guys and deliver them for a fee so that you don't have to pay these, super outrageous prices on getting stuff like that repaired or shipped from out of state. So I'll be around at least a couple more days. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert. That's me. This video contains things that I tinker with throughout the day. For step-by-step detailed instructions of those tasks, you can click on the links in the comment section below. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. This video also has tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. So, thank you very much for watching. Kicking off the Tinker Day with this 06, I think maybe a 07 S60 with the low pressure turbo, but it's got the good bumper on it. So that's nice. Desi is the king of preventive maintenance. He changes stuff before it goes bad. You see he's gotten lazy and took his strut brace off and left that off. But these cars have a history of the starters going bad and causing them not to start. The starters get weak, they create some kind of force field to interfere with the crank sensor, and then you have a no start condition. Well, Desi said, heck with that, go ahead and replace my starter. So we're going to replace the starter. I don't think I can get this starter out of here without taking this intake tube off. But what the heck, I'm going to give it a shot. I can see the bolts. I can't hardly see the bolts on the back, but I could find them. And I'm going to disconnect the battery and pull this starter out of here.
Check this out.
I don't know. What the heck all this stuff is.
What do you think this is?
That's the coolant hose that goes in the back of the oil pan.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a special turbo. It looked thick with like this orange.
That's called off-white.
Okay, anyway, what's this one?
That's for this car.
Okay, A19?
Yeah.
You got cool. This is all the shit you ordered.
Yeah, and I don't know. I might have some parts in there for my car too, but after we do the starter, we're going to do all the coolant hoses so he don't have to worry about none of that stuff deteriorating and coming apart and blowing up. We even got the thermostat housing. Heck, I don't think I could get that housing out without taking this intake manifold off, but I'm darn sure going to try. Because that looks like a little bit of work, so. Anyway, let me get started. I'm going to start with this starter. Looks like the purge valve down here, some vacuum lines. We're going to try to move this stuff out of the way and see if we can get this starter out and replace this. I'm going to kick off this job by popping the trunk, disconnecting the negative battery cable. Let's go dig all the stuff out of the trunk and do that. We're going to pop the trunk with the remote, hold it down twice. Trunk released. Now we got to dig all this stuff out of here to disconnect the battery. 215, so it's 5 years old. You want to replace it?
Yeah, well, let's go later after we get all this fixed.
Alright, so there's the negative on the battery. Going to disconnect that. 10 millimeter, take it loose, drop it to the side. I don't see no way of getting the starter out with all of this intake tubing and stuff installed. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this line out of the way. You don't want to damage this brake booster check valve. Be careful with that. I'm going to take it loose there, back here, and over here. I'm going to lift that out of the way. Then I'm going to reach under here and get this tube that goes to the throttle body from the intercooler. You got a clamp down there, a clamp under this throttle body somewhere. I feel the tip of it there. Take those two loose, work that intercooler intake tube off. Got that out of the way. Next I'm going to unplug this what appears to be a purge valve. It's got a harness on the back of it. I'm going to release that harness, see if I can pull that up out of the way, and then I'm going to get this intake tube. So I'm going to have to cut this zip tie he's got here. Not sure why he's got this stuff zip tied. He's got all kind of tie wires around on this thing. Just a weird guy. He doesn't sleep good at night. I unplugged the back of that valve. I undid the connector off of that hard plastic hose. Anytime you see one of those plastic hoses like this that have the hose sweated onto the connector, don't break those. That will make you have a very bad day. Just don't do it. Alright, so I got this up and out of the way. I found this clamp, took that loose. I found the screw on the other end of this clamp, took that loose. Now I'm going to work this tube out of the throttle body. That's kind of a difficult thing to take off and remove, but I don't think you can get this starter out with that thing there. You may be able to. I guess we could try it. This is I think a 12 or 13 on the wires on the starter. I'm going to disconnect those, then I'm going to unscrew. That looks like a 12. That looks like a 12. On most cars, they're 14s. I'm going to see if I can get the starter out before I pull this intake hose the rest of the way out. The bolt you see down there in the middle with that red threading, that's not even the bolt to get the cables. The bolt to get the cables off is actually under this tube. Can't even see it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the tube and get this starter out. Having a hard time getting the tube out, so I unplugged this airflow sensor. I'm going to take the air box out. I don't think it has any hardware attaching it in here, but I am going to have to take this clamp off this air sensor. Then I'll be able to lift this out. Be careful you don't snatch any wires out when you pull it out. As you can see, I pushed the air box aside. That's also going to let me get this coolant hose from back here. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now I can pull this tube up and out of here. This is probably going to help me get this tube back in, having this out of the way like this. Find your clamps. Make sure you don't have nothing connected to it. You don't want to damage any connectors or vacuum on that tube. So I dropped two clamps. I got one down there and one down over here. Let me get those fished out. Now I have a straight shot for this starter. I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't break that. I'm going to pull this 13 millimeter loose there. I'm going to take these two bolts loose here, First the one with the bracket on it, then the bolt behind it. I'm going to pull that bolt there. Then I'm going to tap the starter toward the passenger side until it comes out and pull it right up out of this hole. I pulled that 13 off the power lead. It appears that the sense wire has a 10 millimeter on it. So I'm going to get that off of there. That did have this little plastic cap on it, so I pulled that cap off just to find that bolt. So let me put this down on there and get that sense wire off of it. I got the electrical wires off the back, the 2 bolts off the front. This may wiggle out, or I may have to tap it out. Oh, looks like it's going to wiggle out. And there you have it. It's out. Listen to that. That can't be good. Anyway, this thing has 140,000 miles on it. I'd probably go 150 before I replace them if you're doing it just for preventive maintenance. I'm going to put this other screw back on the back of that, grab the new one, toss it in reverse order, and be done with it. Try not to drop nothing down there. It ain't fun fishing stuff out of the bottom of this car. Ask me how I know. And like with most things Volvo, it's best to get OEM parts. He got this one from Volvo Parts Direct. This is what they call Blue Box Special from FOMO Co. We're going to go ahead and install this one and work on the coolant lines. I installed and tightened that lower bolt. Made sure that starter was pulled all the way in before I started in that top bolt, because it seems like that top bolt is threaded even through the transmission housing. So now I'm going to do the top bolt, hook up the electrical connectors on the back, and continue to go from there. If I had to put a torque value on those 2 mounting bolts, I'd say 32 Newton meters, 25 foot-pounds. These bolts on the back of the starter, just snug those down. Probably 9 foot-pounds on the small wire and probably 15 foot-pounds on the big wire. The radiator has a strange plug in it, so I decided to take the splash guard down, because you normally can reach up in that hole and take that radiator plug out. Since it's strange, I'm going to take a closer look at it, and it's a freaking bolt. Anyway, this was a little bit of a challenge getting down. You got 2 10 millimeters on the end, and then it has a release latch. You got to push up in there, find that latch, push the tip of it with a screwdriver or something, and then pull it toward the back of the car. One on each side, and then these front things unclip from their little clips there. So don't break this. Push those releases, push it back just a little bit, and it'll fall down. I need to get this radiator hose as well. It's another reason why I was pulling this splash guard. I also unplugged both fog lights. I didn't want to damage those connectors. Now I have access to pull this bolt, let this radiator drain, and then disconnect this lower radiator hose so I can replace it. Man, I don't know what kind of coolant that is. That stuff looks purple. Wonder if that's Kool-Aid. Can somebody come taste this stuff? I swear that looks purple. It don't look like no Volvo coolant. Smells like coolant, so I'm not gonna taste it, but it's tempting. These are the hoses we got. This looks like the bottom of the coolant reservoir. This looks like the supply from the radiator up top. Lower radiator hose, turbo return. This is off of the back of the oil pan. Look like a turbo supply. Another turbo supply. Are these the same part numbers? Yeah, I wonder why I ordered 2 of those and 2 of those. And a bunch of clamps. And this is the top of the bottle. And he's got that hose there as part of the PCV system. So let me see if he wants to service this PCV with this coolant hoses. We also got Volvo coolant. Here's Desi with his Mars dust, spraying everything down so he thinks it'll never rust.
It's cost savings when Robert comes over, trust me. 50% of the time is taking bolts out.
I replaced the lower bottle hose at the clamp back there. I'm getting ready to replace this thermostat housing. Man, I'm not sure how to get that bottom bolt. That's going to be a tough one. I'm going to take this hose off of it first and see if I can reach it going under this way. Don't know if that'll reach it or not. I don't see it. Looks like the alternator's in the way. Ay, ay, ay. May have to move the power steering pump out of the way to get to that thing. Let me see. I do see the lower bolt for this thermostat housing. I don't see that it's possible to get this thing out with this power steering pump here. So I'm going to take this power steering pump stuff loose, take the serpentine belt off, then I'm going to get this thermostat housing and stuff off of here. Desi fired up his BMW, first time in about a year. Cut it off for some reason. I pulled the bolts out of the power steering pump, the 3 of them, and I may be able to see the screw down there now. Yep, there it is. I'm going to try to hit that with a 40. I got a 40 there. See if we can break those loose. Get that out of there. I'm going to take this hose off first. The pump pulled out, the hose out of the way, the hose off the intake manifold. Now I got a T40 Allen style bit. I got a 10 millimeter on a 6-inch extension. I'm going to try to break this loose. Then I'm going to try to reach under there and break the other one loose. This is using like a cheater. I got both of them broke loose. So I'm going to screw this out. I'm going to take my gloves off so I can get a better feel. Screw these 2 screws out, pull this housing out of here, and put the new one in. I pulled the top screw all the way out. The bottom screw is loose. I broke it loose. Now I'm going to put this under there on that bottom screw and screw it out while I lift it up and out of there. I don't want to drop that bottom screw. I have the old thermostat off. I'm going to take this hose, put it on the new one in that orientation, and get that new one put on there. Alright, I got it tightened in there. Get this hose on right here. Tighten that clamp. Get this hose off right there and swap the new one on and keep it moving. I have the serpentine belt back on. I tightened up the bolts for the power steering pump. I put the clamp where I could get it on with a swivel. I put this clamp where I could get on it with a swivel. Tighten those. Tighten that with a screwdriver. Everything should be tight. Now I'm going to go under the car and get the 2 coolant lines on the back of the oil pan. And then I'll be ready to add coolant to this thing. This turbo hose look good. I'm not going to bother that. I'm going to check the other one on the turbo supply. Next year we'll do the heater hoses, this coolant reservoir, and the PCV system. I removed the belly pan. It's supposed to have 5 screws in it, maybe 6. It only had 3. 1 on this corner in the front, the 2 on the back corners. That one was missing, and that one was missing. Where's that thing at? And that one was missing. Anyway, come back here to the coolant hoses. I'm surprised to find that the turbo supply coolant hose looks exactly like the turbo return coolant hose. Got those 2 clamps on it. It looks like it's in great shape, no swelling, nothing like that. These are the 2 hoses that we have. We're about to replace this one here that looks like it's in great shape, and this other one that turns up around here that looks like it's in good shape. So I'm gonna remove these and replace those with new hoses, and we're gonna be good to go for a little while. These 3 clamps and this one Oaklear clamp, I'll crack that loose and put a normal clamp on that. I guess I zoomed in somehow. Oop, that's the wrong way. We're about to replace these 2 hoses here. This one and this one. They look like they're in good shape, but they'll be brand new when we get done. I changed the oil filter and I put the splash pan on. He said he already changed the oil. Now I'm gonna put the intake tube on, then I'm gonna put the rest of this stuff on. I'm ready to start this car. Got everything back together except for that little piece right there I gotta put in, and it should fire right up and run. And I need to put a lot more coolant in there since I took everything loose. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.